All right, guys, today's video, how much Bitcoin should you be buying? So this answer is going to kind of change depending on who you talk to. If you talk to your financial advisor, he might say no Bitcoin, or you might say 1% Bitcoin, or you might say 10% Bitcoin. If you talk to someone that's really big into crypto, they might tell you not that much Bitcoin because they want you in riskier shit. Me, I'm going to tell you that I think the risk to crypto is not being exposed, and I think Bitcoin is the safest crypto you could buy, and I think you probably don't have enough. So guys, I'm going to break down a little bit about how much Bitcoin you should be buying, and I'm going to break down the income levels a little bit. So if you're making less than 30 grand, that's going to be a different answer than if you're making over 100 grand a year, right? So guys, let's break it down and let's get into it. How much Bitcoin should you be buying? And I literally just typed these 5 things right here. How much Bitcoin should you be buying? Guys, this is going to be income dependent. And listen, investing in crypto, I think to get the best results, you're going to want to have at least 5 grand, if not 10 grand saved up. But let's break this down about dollar cost averaging in over time. Guys, if you make 30 grand a year, you're probably making less than $3,000 a month, right? So guys, if you're making less than 30 grand a year, the first focus, honestly, needs to be getting a better job or getting a second job. You need to work your way up into the second bracket where you're closing on like $50,000, $60,000 a year. Because if you're making 60K, you're making about 5 grand a month, and that's something we can work with. Down here at 30K, and listen, this is gonna be a little situation dependent. So if you're living on your own, making 30 grand a year, after your rent and expenses, you have no money. So you need to focus on either reducing expenses or making more money. That's just end of story. Guys, if you have no responsibilities and you live at home and you're making 30 grand a year, like say you're 19 and you didn't go to college, you still live with your mom and you're making 3 or 4 grand a month, you should be throwing every motherfucking dollar you have into that shit. Throw it all in there, guys. I mean, and just take the risk. We're young men, we have nothing to lose. You can make it back. You have no responsibilities. Now's the time where if you were 19 years old and you're making 30 grand a year, 3, 4K a month, you can just be throwing every single thing you have into this crypto, into Bitcoin, and it can change your life. Imagine only pulling a 2x on Bitcoin average. And so basically every 3 grand you've been putting in here each month turns into 6 later. Now guys, if I had no responsibilities and I was 19 making 30 grand a year, I'd be throwing every single dollar I have into crypto. And I'd be doing a little more than just Bitcoin, but I want to keep it really simple because I know we have some guys that are new, just dipping their toes into cryptocurrency. And so let's just break this down a little further here. If you're making 30, 60 grand a year, you're making about 5 grand a month on the top end there. Again, it's gonna depend a little bit on your responsibility, but guys, if you're making 5 grand a month, I would be trying to put at least 10% into Bitcoin each month. And I would honestly do that on my pre-tax amount. So if you're making 5 grand a month at 60K, guys, I would be trying to throw at least $500 a month into Bitcoin. And you could easily set that up on like an auto invest, like you could have it automatically DCA on Robinhood or Coinbase. You can have it automatically purchase $100 a week, or automatically purchase $500 once a month, $250 every 2 weeks. And I think that would be the best strategy because you get about what, 6 grand in there every year, which I think is a fantastic rate. I would go heavier if you can. But I think if you're making, if you're just making your 60 grand a year, you're making 5K a month, that means I'm imagining about $1,800 paychecks, right? Probably somewhere around there after tax. Maybe the first paycheck, throw $250 into Bitcoin. The second paycheck, $250 into Bitcoin. So $500 a month into the safest, top performing asset, guys, Bitcoin. I'm not saying go put it on Butthole Coin or Fart Coin, any of that stupid gambling shit. I'm saying into Bitcoin. If you want to play with memes and degen shit, do that afterwards. Me personally, I still have accounts that are set up that they auto buy like $100 of Bitcoin every week. So I mean, that's a great strategy right there. On top of me personally, I throw everything I can outside of my bills into the market. So I'm full degen, I'm full crypto, baby. But if you're looking for a little exposure and you're making 60 grand a year, I think sticking to that 10% where you're putting a good $500 in there every month will be perfect. And I'm gonna keep that same 10%. The bare minimum you should be keeping for your 60 to 100K, if you're making 100K a year, you're probably making about 8 grand a month before tax, right? That's how the math works. I'd be trying to throw $800 in. Throw $200 in a week. And guys, if you're not living beyond your means and you're making 100 grand a year, 8 grand a month, that should be no problem. If you're not buying a bunch of stupid sports cars you don't need, if you're not buying a bunch of bullshit and like designer shit, that shouldn't be hard. Investing in a top performing asset should not be hard, and it shouldn't be twisting your arm to do that. So guys, I'm just gonna keep that at least bare minimum 10% rule, and I'm gonna do that on your pre-tax amount. So if you're in a $100,000 a year job, your goal should be to get about 10 grand in a year. So I'd say get $800 in a month. If you're making 100K, you should be putting at least 10%, $800 a month into Bitcoin. If you're making 60 grand, you should be putting 6K a year. So do about $500 a month. If you're making 30 grand, listen, I still would put any side money you have. If you are living the bachelor lifestyle though on 30 grand, like you're not gonna have any money. Like, let's be honest. I used to work at the gym and I was making like 30 grand a year and I was racking up credit card debt and I didn't have any fucking Bitcoin. I think I did at some point, like start buying some Dogecoin and shit like a freaking retard, guys. But listen, when you're making 30 grand a year, you probably don't have the money to. But if you are responsible and you don't have, like if you're not paying rent and stuff like I was, if you're living at home, again, throw everything you freaking have into Bitcoin. And you can obviously layer in some other coins as well. But if you're actually just living your life on 30 grand, coasting, and you're paying your rent and you still somehow have some money afterwards, I mean, fuck it, guys. I mean, put like $200 in a month if you can. Like, do some shit like that. It's gonna depend on how much you're making. And if you're making 30 grand, it's gonna be hard. Depending on your, again, it depends on your situation. Everyone's gonna be a little different. If you're like me, you'd be making 100 grand plus a year, and you're still throwing everything you fucking can. I'm not throwing $800 a month in. The fuck? That's an easy month. Guys, if you lower your expenses and live not retarded, you can be throwing in 2, 3, 4 grand a month by just not being a retard. So you make over 100 grand a year, or if you make, say you make 50, 60 grand a year and then you stack a second job, you guys could be throwing $3,000 or $4,000 a month into Bitcoin, no problem. Is it a high risk, high return strategy? I wouldn't necessarily say high risk. Maybe to all you old people that aren't into crypto yet, but for someone like me, Bitcoin, the safest, best long-term, highest performing asset you could ever have. And I will die on that hill. I'll just die on it. Like, why would I buy something for 10% a year when I can buy Bitcoin, make 50% a year on average? And not just that, I know how to use DeFi and I can monetize my Bitcoin for even more gains on top of that. So it's just a no-brainer. And if you guys are making over 100 grand a year, again, this is just gonna be discretionary at this point. If you're making over 100 grand a year, say you make $1 million a year, 10%, what is that? That's 100 fucking grand. At current prices, you can buy 1 Bitcoin a year at current prices. That is a no-brainer. Like, it's 10% of your net worth. And I think everyone should at minimum be looking for 10% of their income going into Bitcoin. And, I might sound crazy because you don't have any crypto, but honestly, guys, I guess I'm just ranting this video, but if you don't have any Bitcoin, what are you doing? You guys are seeing it hit all-time highs. Everyone's just like, I should have bought. Oh, look at that, all-time highs. But no one's doing anything about it, guys. Like, when I say no one's doing anything about it, I mean the normies. But there are also some people that I know that are in crypto that still don't have any Bitcoin. Because instead of taking, let me make this full screen, guys. Instead of taking the guaranteed play on Bitcoin, some of you guys are going full degen, going only memes, only altcoins, only shitcoins, and it's like, guys, you should at least be throwing some into this guaranteed win Bitcoin. They've tried to kill it multiple times, they can't. It's been through some black swans, they can't take it down, it just gives you better entries. Like guys, say Bitcoin went back to $30,000 tomorrow. Is that gonna fucking hurt me to watch? Oh yeah, but if that happens, I'm going to strip the fucking copper out of the walls and sell my family into indentured servitude to buy more Bitcoin, and then I'll buy my family back and be a fucking Dubai prince with a shit ton of money. Like guys, that's how much I believe in this shit. I'm stripping the copper out the walls, I'm selling all my cars and shit, I'm selling my guitar, I'll take all the TVs out the house, freaking indentured servitude my family, and I will buy my sweet Nana back. when it's all over. Because we will be fucking filthy rich. Because Bitcoin is the answer. If you guys want me to do a breakdown on why Bitcoin is the answer, more than happy to do that. Shit, I'll sell my fucking massaging, heating chair. This chair is fucking awesome. I'll sell this shit for some more Bitcoin if that shit dips. But guys, on a serious note, learn and study Bitcoin and you'll realize why it's the answer and why you don't have enough and why you should probably feel concerned that you'll never have enough. You learn that the dollar is absolute trash due to inflation, due to just a terrible government and misuse of taxpayer. Like, look at this. Doge is coming out and they're showing you guys all the fraud, all the mismanagement of money. All that taxing is just an illusion that we're taking the taxes and using that to fund like building the streets and shit. When no, we're sending that overseas and we're just printing more money for anything we need. They just print money for it. The taxing's an illusion. They're just robbing you. Fuck, I don't even fucking know. It's all stupid. You know how you can avoid it? Buy Bitcoin. Buy something that there's only 21 million, they can't print more of, and you guys are gonna do all right. That's the reason why people buy real estate. It's because it's slow building more houses. There's always gonna be a demand and need, and you're holding an asset that will appreciate in value over time. But the more you look into it, you realize that the house isn't really growing in value as much as the dollar is fucking trash and it is just devaluing, and therefore the house is just holding its true worth. Like, I was fortunate enough to know my great-grandparents, and they were talking about how cars were like $500, a couple $1,000s. But I mean, they were like 90, so they were alive way back in like the early 1900s, bro. Like, that's crazy to think about. But for real, normal ass homes are gonna be $1 million in like what, 30, 40 years probably? I mean, there were already like 400,000 or 500,000 for homes that were going for 200,000 when I was a kid. Like, it's crazy. So if you don't believe me, that's fine. Sit on the sidelines. This channel's not for you because here we love Bitcoin and we think Bitcoin is gonna be the answer to your problems, guys. Like, you need to work and bust your ass and buy more Bitcoin. That's the truth. If you don't wanna do it, that's fine. Sit on the sidelines and watch me and everyone that's buying Bitcoin make a fuck ton of money. Because you already have been, and you still don't have any, because you always think you're too late. But you fast forward 4 years later, and you could have bought more. So guys, if you have any questions on how to buy Bitcoin, or why you should buy Bitcoin, drop them below. Drop me a like, drop a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
Girls get loose when they hear the song. 100 on the dash, get me close to God. We don't pray for love, we just pray for